Hey, welcome to Carbon Marine Podcast. This is our debut of the Carbon Marine Podcast. I think I'd like to open with kind of why. 15 years in business, podcasting never occurred to me until, frankly, the last 2 years. I started studying or looking for other content other than just mainstream radio. I travel a lot, so stations vary, and I like learning. I use my driving as an opportunity to listen to books and learn things. So I accidentally stumbled across podcasting as a source of information. And the more I listened to the podcast, the more I realized, this is actually pretty good. I'm learning a lot, and I'm learning things that I don't see on mainstream television. So it's been in the back of my mind, a podcast for a long time, just didn't know how to go about doing it. It seems like podcasting has become a lot more popular. I'm seeing people that I respect producing podcasts now. So for us, it seemed natural. I felt like it would be a good extension for Carbon Marine because we get a lot of the same questions day in, day out from our customers on how things work or how to select product A or product B. And I thought, wow, if we just take these questions and kind of talk about them and then make that available, it might help people in the Carbon Marine selection process. And I think it also just gives us a way to give some back information about Carbon Marine and kind of where we come from and what we do and why we do it and why there's certain techniques that are beneficial and the techniques that aren't so beneficial. But so we went down the rabbit hole. This is our podcast, and I'd like to thank Aaron, shop manager, helping us do this. Big shout out to Cameron at Simply Affordable Marketing and Lateral Line Media. Couldn't do it without these guys. It's been a pretty eventful transition. So for this to be the first one, just a little background into why we're doing it. So we do it because we learn a lot in podcasts. I learned a lot in podcasts, and I felt like I can help people learn a lot. Is there anything I miss, Aaron?
Mainly the content. That's the main reason why we started doing this, as from a operation standpoint, just trying to generate as much content. We get a lot of questions day in, day out. This is a good opportunity for us to make videos and stuff like that to really explain not just what we're about, where we came from, but also who we are as individuals. It's Carbon Marine's a very, I don't know, I guess for family oriented would be the right word. Very family oriented, very close knit family here that we have as a team. So we have a team of 3 full-time employees, right? So it's us 3 running the shop. So between all of us, we all have something to say, and being able to have a voice out in there and give you guys, let you know that we're not just some faceless, soulless corporation, that we're 3 guys in a shed building some of the best stuff out there. That I think that'd be a good thing to do.
I struggled a little bit with what to call it. Cameron said, hey, you got to come up with a name. We're talking to this distribution company for distributing it into the mainstream. And I was like, wow, okay, a name. And then, what's the first thing I do? I go out and Google, how do you name a podcast? And everybody tells you, well, you got to have a broad name so you can appeal to a lot of people, big audience. All right. And then somebody else says, well, you don't want a broad name because then nobody's going to listen to you because you're not a subject matter expert on any topic, right? The whole reason why people podcast is so you can produce content that's very specific that people will seek out and they'll come back to you for more content on that topic. The problem with very narrow topics or limited topics are they're limited.
You run out of stuff to say.
3 shows and you're done. So, we're not a news show, so we're not going to get up here and regurgitate what's already happening in the world that anybody else can pick up off of their phone and the internet. But so I even as early as this morning, getting ready for work, I thought, I think I've got the secret sauce of how to do this. We call it Carbon Marine Podcast, but then I think we're going to have segments. I think we'll call the things that we're famous for are tiller extensions. Like that's probably our biggest claim to fame. So we would have the tiller pillar series, and it's going to be all the details on tiller pillars and tiller extensions and anything around that. So that's going to be one segment of the world that, frankly, there's people that just don't have tiller boats or don't care about tiller boats, but then there's other people that do. Then maybe another series would be the push pole series. It's a big series within the Southeast, but not so much anywhere else, or topic, I should say, as opposed to a series. And then thirdly, line management. Those are the three categories that we spend the abundance of our energy working on solving problems. And I thought, so if we need to, we'll produce the podcast in series, have a tiller pillar series and have a push pull series and have a line management series. But what's near and dear to my heart, and I don't know how this is going to be received in the general population or not, but I love telling stories, especially the stories that people just, I can't believe that happened to you. And man, let me tell you something. I've got some stories. 15 years of doing this, it'll be 15 years this April. I've got stories that are just like, I can't believe this happened. So yeah, you don't want a podcast all about that, just storytelling, because it kind of doesn't really fit the spirit of the educational piece of it. It's the entertainment piece of it. But I think there's some interesting stories to be told that people from our culture, the Southeast, the fishing culture, the fly fishing culture, are going to find amusing. And frankly, on the entrepreneurial side, it's easy to say the word, but it's hard. It's a really, really, really hard path to go down, and you've got to have a certain amount of resolve, because a lot of things are going to happen that you're not expecting, and it's those events that created some of the better stories. And lastly, I can't possibly not bring up food. Like, you guys know, we got a big green egg out in front of the door. We got a smoker in the front door. Like, every time customers roll up in here, like, what's that smell? Right now, if we had smell-o-vision, you'd smell a pot of curry. There's a crock pot full of curry in the other room right now. So I think we're tying in a little bit of our food stories. On a personal level, my Instagram and Facebook page is probably half foodie pictures. I love cooking. And I think that's an extension of just giving back to people and sharing with people. And, it's kind of like a hobby and an art. And I enjoy it. So couldn't call it Carbon Marine Kitchen. We'd be out of business because,
Yeah.
But that's the backdrop.
The podcast can be whatever you want it to be. And it can be just Carbon Marine, just us in general, the whole team just sharing, doing whatever we like. It doesn't have to be all product focused on Carbon Marine as a company all the time. It can be telling stories, doing deliveries, or even just general information on fishing, hunting, all the other outdoorsy stuff that we all enjoy doing. It doesn't have to be just around. We shouldn't have a podcast just centered around just products.
No, that's going to seem a little artificial, maybe, or forced. I think it's important that we have an educational piece in how things work. Some of the stuff that comes to mind is how long should I get product A, or how short should I get product B, or how many of product C. But you can only go so far on that stuff. Mm-hmm. That's what brought me to podcasting, was learning. I needed an avenue to go learn things, and the extension of podcasting brought me to YouTube, or I guess I'm an old guy, so I don't know if I got this vernacular right, but I think it's called video podcasting, where you record the podcast. And I'm a visual guy, so I get a lot out of seeing some product or seeing how something works or some process, and hearing it. I don't watch mainstream television. I haven't watched mainstream television other than 15 minutes in the morning for news. It's just, I don't have an appetite for it. But I find a lot of very interesting topics, and I'm educated on things that I'm curious about or that I want to know off of YouTube or videos. So I just search what I'm looking for. And I think we'd be amiss if we weren't contributing to that pool of knowledge, because there's a lot of things that I talk to customers about day in, day out, that are reoccurring phone calls, and it seems like it's the same set of questions. And if 3 or 4 people a week are asking that question, there's probably 1,000 people out there that are curious about the same question and don't really have an avenue to find the answer.
Yeah, especially on things like, especially on the things that we make here. You know, who else is going to be the push pull expert besides the guys who actually make them? So
That's right. That's right. Well, that's kind of our opening entry into podcasting. Probably going to look back on this in a couple of years and go, wow, that was a little rough around the edges. But hey, man, I don't care. I'm just glad to be here. It's been a long time coming. Super happy for the opportunity to be able to talk and put a voice to many of the stories and events and just things that have happened around Carbon Marine. I can't believe it's been 15 years. It doesn't feel a day over 40. That's being a joke. The last 3 years have been better than the first 3 years. I'll just leave it at that. But hopefully we'll be able to continue this. We're not sure how frequent we're going to do this.
I'm thinking like maybe every 2 weeks or so.
Yeah, bi-weekly. Bi-weekly might
Maybe
be good.
bi-weekly or monthly or something along that.
Yeah, I think I may even open up and try to start collecting questions from people. I'm not sure.
Do a Q&A.
Yeah, do a Q&A. You know, people may have some questions that you and I take for granted and maybe want some specific topics covered that, you know, we just assume that people know about. But I look forward to the journey.
Yeah, we'll see how it ends up.
I think that's a wrap.
All right, thank you.